Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I bring you founders, co-founders, entrepreneurs, executives, musicians, artists, you name it, across the world of crypto and blockchain. And today I have an amazing guest. I always have amazing guests, but today I'm really excited about this one because this company had recent news, and I want to discover some of that. My guest today is Julian Deschler. He's the co-founder of Elusiv. Julian, welcome.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. Happy to be on.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here, and I'm excited. And let's kick this off. And the first question is, what is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I basically worked in TradFi for 2 years, and then after that went to university in Munich to study CS. I worked at a few blockchain startups on the side during my studies, and then basically co-founded Elusiv out of uni with my co-founders. And since then, lead business strategies at Elusiv. I guess with a mix of like finance and a bit of like a technical background, it kind of makes sense to working on private DeFi. But yeah.
Awesome. So let me ask you what Elusiv was all about first.
Yeah, sure. So at Elusiv, we're trying to build the modular privacy stack for Web3. And maybe to start with the problem first. So the problem we're trying to solve is around, as we all know, the inherently public nature of blockchains. So basically all on-chain activity is transparent, meaning every user's transactions and history being open for anyone to see. And yeah, it's just an alarming level of exposure, which also like conflicts with various privacy regulation like GDPR in the EU, for example. But yeah, like this, like overall transparency just leads to data exploitation, surveillance, even more pervasive than in Web 2. And for me personally, this just really goes against everything like what Web 3 promised when I first got in contact with Bitcoin a few years ago. Back then, like also DeFi didn't really exist yet, but also like ensuring that DeFi kind of remains free of manipulation is challenging as well without privacy. And as like, yeah, I don't know, in DeFi, for example, like practices such as copy trades, stop loss hunting, basically where you can like trigger others traders stop losses are quite widespread. We as a team or like founding team realized that basically without proper privacy mechanisms, major blockchain use cases just won't scale, and having no privacy is therefore a significant barrier to mass adoption overall. I mean, just like no one in their right mind would voluntarily leak all their sensitive financial data to the general public. I mean, just imagine a credit card provider or like a neo broker, PayPal, whatever, would share all your transaction history. Like no one would use that like TradFi provider. And then there's a second like major problem we encountered is to find a good balance between privacy and compliance. And the thing is, you can have effective privacy solutions without considering compliance. So without the right measures, there is a big risk of regulatory compliance or regulatory complications and illicit activities. And for example, we've all just recently seen again what happened with Tornado Cash, and it just like demonstrates how a lack of compliance can lead to serious issues. And current compliance solutions we really have are far from ideal. They often erode the very privacy they're meant to protect. They're talking about centralized KYC procedures, permissioned access, which restricts openness, all these kind of things. And there's, in general, I guess, a broad consensus within like the whole industry that privacy and also regulatory challenges are two of the biggest barriers to adoption. And it's like not just us recognizing this issue, it's I guess a shared concern. And the real challenge is really finding a way to provide privacy without compromising compliance, and vice versa. And that's basically what drove us to innovate with Elusiv. So we've basically built a full spectrum of tools designed to address the privacy challenges of Web3. So we do have a native application with a suite of user-friendly privacy features like private swaps, and that we've just recently launched. We've developed an SDK as well, so basically a developer framework to enable programmable privacy, which basically means others can build on our work to easily create their own privacy solutions for DeFi. And something that makes us special as well is that we've also designed an innovative, decentralized, privacy-preserving compliance system that addresses the regulatory challenges without sacrificing privacy. There's also some more cool things we have in the pipeline, but we'll keep it like this for now. And but I have like some more things to announce in the future as well.
You provided me with like a half a dozen follow-up questions there, so it's good. Thank you. The first one, though, is you said you're going to keep some things under wraps, but there's one announcement that you had that came out last week, right? You launched private swaps on Solana, right? You're injecting privacy into Solana's growing DeFi ecosystem. How will your private transfers help to overcome that privacy pain point with your launch on Solana?
Yep. Sure. Yeah. So yes, as we all know, like typical DEX, so decentralized exchange, they're all entirely transparent. So if I dox my public key once by, I don't know, for example, sending funds to you or to an exchange, I just have like an NFT as my Twitter profile picture. Then a third party can basically see everything, meaning my trade history, all my future trades, and my balance. And with Elusiv private swaps, on a high level, your public key is basically encrypted, so it's hidden, and therefore token pairs and amounts can never link to a user's wallet address. And as a trader, basically your P&L is hidden. Like maybe interesting on how that works on a like high level. So I guess like an example would be if you like kind of imagine it like a chicken sandwich where Elusiv represents the bread basically, and a DEX aggregate the chicken in between, or because I don't know if you're vegan, maybe a salad. Basically, let's say you swap Sol for USDC and have your funds in your Elusiv private balance. So as soon as a private token swap is initiated, a temporary key pair is generated, which will be used as the secondary signer of the transaction. And then the SOL are sent to the temporary key pair. The swap then happens via Jupiter in that case, so a DEX aggregator, basically Solana's 1inch. The chicken sandwich, the chicken. So that's the aggregator in between. So we use the liquidity of an existing DEX aggregator, so we don't need our own liquidity. And the USDC then gets topped up again to Elusiv private balance. So basically, at the like percentage bread again, and from there you can just send your funds to any wallet without revealing your public key.
It's funny that you made that analogy. I had Chick-fil-A egg white grilled chicken and egg sandwich for breakfast. So I'm like thinking about my sandwich now. I'm hungry again. That's good. You said private token swaps secure one of the most fundamental actions in all of DeFi and push the entire Web3 space forward to deliver on core values of self-sovereignty and data ownership. I want to find out how that privacy can enable self-sovereignty, and then what some of the dangers are in that process of making things private.
I guess so. Some of the issues by making things private is that also illicit actors can profit from this, right? We've seen that, like, obviously in the past with Tornado Cash, where, for example, Lazarus Group used Tornado Cash to launder money, hide its traces, and that's kind of like the problem in a decentralized setting with financial transactions being private. Therefore, we kind of thought, so we want to provide privacy for honest users, and we want to have compliance to keep the bad guys out, so to say. But we want to do that in like a self regulatory approach, where we have a decentralized system that can basically detect illicit actors, and that's where Elusiv Zeus comes into play. Basically, Zeus stands for zero knowledge encrypted user safeguarding, basically our thought was that previous approaches to compliant privacy were either ineffective, like deposit screenings, for example, or fully centralized, just rendering them unsuitable for decentralized systems. And with Elusiv Zeus, we basically invented a solution for this. So basically, users encrypt their transactions in a way that Zeus can perform confidential checks on past transactions, and Zeus can then trace and reveal illicit financial activity, allowing for decentralized self-regulation and regulatory compliance. And it basically works through like a consensus mechanism. So it's basically you have the Elusiv nodes, basically like a network of nodes, and you basically need to reach consensus on illicit activity. So it's not just one person basically that can say this was like some illicit interaction. So it's really like a decentralized system, and through governance, you can basically then keep the illicit actors out, because I guess that most of the users don't want to pool their funds together with illicit actors, and therefore like even helping them by increasing their anonymity set. But privacy should be at the same time be a human right, so that everyone has access to privacy preserving technologies. And as long as you don't like hack any protocols, which is bad for the whole ecosystem, and try to hide your traces, your privacy is preserved.
I like the concept. I just think back to, was it 2018, 2017, Accenture, this big tech company, made an announcement, and they were celebrating the fact that they created an editable blockchain. Blockchains are supposed to be uneditable, right? That's the beauty of it, is you can't go back and you can't change anything on the chain. But they created something, a private blockchain, where you can edit it. That's not a blockchain at all, right? So I'm concerned about things being private and then losing that provenance, or losing that granularity of what actually happened. How do you address that risk with your platform, and how should we do that in a regulatory manner?
Yes, so that's a really good question, and a question, and we actually thought about this as well. So our approach and like thought was just to say, okay, so something like so basically you can't detect an illicit actor up front, so you can't really like restrict access, but you can give some like predefined time frame, let's say like 2 weeks or a month, where it's possible to retroactively decrypt an illicit actor, which just means that he loses his privacy. So there's no funds can get frozen or anything. It's really just he basically gets removed from the system by losing his privacy. And we thought you can define, like, for example, 2 weeks or a month to where this transaction is basically in a state where it can be decrypted, and afterwards it's fully immutable. So after, like, let's say 2 weeks, there's no way to decrypt the transaction anymore. But you have like a 2-week time period where you can act if there's some hack going on, for example.
Got it. Okay. So that was that. And then you said privacy solutions remain a barrier for mass adoption, right? So why are privacy solutions essential for Web3 adoption, mainstream, like for the whole industry?
Yes. So as I mentioned before, I guess it's just impossible to really get mainstream adoption without having universal privacy for the space. Like, if we just think for like institutional adoption, let's take like a simple example. Let's say I'm a merchant and I want to accept USDC through a payment framework like Solana Pay. And the problem is, like, if that's not private, it basically means that the competition, for example, could see how much revenue I make on chain, and my potential customers they run into the risk that they like someone could like check, for example, in a coffee shop, who's paying for coffee right now, and you could see, oh my God, they have 50,000 USDC in their balance, so I'll rob them afterwards. So it's just that like the mainstream is not willing to basically like leak all their data, especially financial data, to everyone. And I guess like the perfect vision for Web3 would be that we just all have universal privacy, meaning that every dApp and wallet has like somehow integrated privacy as a feature, and at the same time that we have smooth UX so that users don't feel any difference when using privacy features. So basically they wouldn't even know, it would just be the default.
I like your vision for a Web3 world. I do. And you said that people don't have to hand over their data, but they did to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everybody. Like how far are we away from that Web3 world, and what needs to happen for people to be able to understand they're giving up so much data to these companies and not do it anymore?
Yeah. So I guess in general, like right now, we give out even more data than in Web2. So I mean, like my bank account, for example, I mean, for us specifically, it's financial transactions, DeFi, but at least only my bank knows my transaction history, right? Case of Web3, as soon as I send funds anywhere to exchange, then the exchange will know how much, like forever, like any exchange where I've ever sent funds to or a friend. And I mean, where we right now is basically, so we only really have very few privacy protocols, and so just really a few are around, and then there's even less that are live at the moment and that offer privacy features that are live, and also like in general, we have a lot of like user experience challenges. Privacy is still it's slow, like the UX is a bit, it's harder to use. So basically most of the existing protocols are like clunky or unintuitive. And I guess what's needed is to, on the one hand side, like educate users, so to spread the word on why privacy matters, and also like in general security risks of public blockchains, and just improve like the overall feel by just making privacy features more user friendly. And in our case, we try to do this by pushing for SDK adoption, and to get more dApps and wallets to use tools like the Elusiv SDK, because like this, users can just stick with the wallets and dApps that they love and already use, because Elusiv would just be integrated into that application, and the user wouldn't necessarily even know that he's using Elusiv.
I like it. So you're solving the privacy issues. You're working on the regulatory concerns, and you're allowing people to trade and use DeFi. Sounds good to me.
Yes.
I want to go back to the self-sovereign identity, right? How does self-sovereign identity, or having a self-sovereign identity, help users, manage their most personal data? And then like, because I'm thinking about, that versus this WorldCoin thing, where, countries are against users sharing their biometric data. So what are some of the basic things about privacy that people must know, and how do we get them to be in the know?
Yeah, sure. So I didn't take a deep dive on WorkCoin yet, but I mean, basically, so on a high level, what I understood about it is that they basically offer a verified identity solution called proof of personhood, I think, and it's something like in that direction. And you can scan basically your iris, like with these orbs that are spread across the globe. And for doing that, you receive their token and your like world ID or something like that. And the idea behind that, like why would you need that from like WorldCoin side is, I think, to distinguish humans from AI while apparently preserving privacy. And yeah, I guess we've all heard of like Sam Altman before, known as the ChatGPT founder, and also co-founded WorldCoin basically as a side project. And I guess that's one of the big reasons why there's so much hype around it. But to be honest, not sure how involved he is, because it's actually a fun story, because he was in Munich a few months ago, and I actually met him like for a brief second and actually asked him about like his involvement in Web3 regarding WorldCoin. It was like right before they announced their last funding round, and he basically said to me that he's not involved in Web3 at all. So he's just focusing on AI, which is, I don't know. And it's just quite interesting, like just thinking about the hype around WorldCoin now, that, and probably, I guess, around him as a person. But yeah, so basically for WorldCoin, it's also a bit like focused around AI. That, yeah, you can like distinguish humans, and like one use case for that would be for like bot protection on Twitter, for example, or like airdrops, whatever. And I guess the like obvious concern I have, and like most people probably have, is it's a single entity collecting millions of people's of biometric data, and there's like in general like concern from regulators already around the world regarding this. And I mean, like WorldCoin kind of like claims that they only store like a cryptographic hash of your biometric data, but yeah, I don't know. I personally wouldn't trust it. It's just hard to verify whether these orbs basically contain like a secret backdoor. So a user, so yeah, so as a user, you just need to trust the orb manufacturer basically, and with, I guess, yeah, with like self-sovereign identity, users have full control over their personalized data, without like relying on like any centralized entities, which comes with the benefit that users decide who accesses their data. Yeah, just like, yeah, without relying on centralized entities is, I guess, the important thing. And I mean, at Elusiv, we don't do anything around like identity, but in general, everything is designed to be decentralized, even as mentioned before, the compliance system, which is really important. And I guess like in general, like basic principles, everyone should just know when it comes to these things. Just think about like consent, like just understand what you're consenting to if you provide your biometric data to something like WorldCoin. Then remember that it's irreversible and that some data once given can't be taken back. And then like overall trustworthiness. Yeah, just like evaluate if you can trust this platform asking for your data, and then in general the value trade-offs. Yeah, I don't know, like with the potential risk of what you're exchanging your data for, in this case some WorldCoin tokens. Yeah, not sure if that's worth it. And in general, I guess when it comes to privacy, it's just important to like educate the general public, just have like a lot of awareness campaigns, and yeah, accessible information, and that's just easily understandable for everyone. Yeah.
Great. So I understand that point, the concern of handing it over to a private entity and centralized and all that. But you made an interesting point. You said it's important to distinguish AI from humans. And you mentioned airdrops, and I get messages on Twitter all the time for airdrops. I don't click on anything for an airdrop. I'm like, that's not a valid one. So with regards to the privacy, you mentioned earlier the zero knowledge proofs, right? And systems, and I guess that ties in here to the Web3 component of privacy and the AI stuff. How do these zero knowledge proofs that you discussed a little bit earlier or touched on, how do they play a critical role for the Web3 future?
Yeah, so maybe in general to like explain on a high level, maybe what zero knowledge proof is. So it's basically a method by which one party, so the prover basically can prove to another party, the so-called verifier, that they know a value X without conveying any information apart from the fact that they know this value X. And in other words, yeah, it allows you to prove that you know something without revealing what it is that you know. And yeah, this has obvious applications when it comes to protecting sensitive data. Just yeah, to make that, maybe to give another very simplified example that's quite common on zero knowledge proofs. So it's this example with Where's Wally? So Where's Wally is a popular search and find puzzle for kids, where players look for a character named Wally in a like busy scene basically. And the challenge would be now to prove Wally's location without showing the whole puzzle. And the solution is basically then to cover the puzzle with a paper that's bigger than like the paper with the scene, and only revealing Wally through a tiny hole that just shows Wally. And the outcome basically is you prove you found Wally, and let's say your friend sees Wally but not his exact spot, and that's basically zero knowledge because your friend learns nothing new about the puzzle's layout. Now maybe to like explain a bit where we, for example, use ZK for privacy. It's a bit more complicated. Try to keep it short. So basically with Elusiv, in order for a user to send funds, the link between the sender and recipient needs to be broken. So hence we split the transaction into two steps. So the first step is consisting of generating a so-called private balance, so the Elusiv private balance. And the generation of the private balance happens in the Elusiv smart contract. So in short, the user stores funds in a pool controlled by the smart contract, where it keeps track of each user's so-called spending authority. And for a user to spend their private balance, they need to prove spending authority. And spending authority is generated using a hash-based commitment scheme. And it's also like where cryptography comes into play. So this cryptographic scheme allows the user then to commit to a value and hide it with ability to reveal that later when someone wants to spend their funds. And these commitments, they just include the amount, the asset type, and a nullifier. And the nullifier is basically the second part of this cryptographic scheme. And it's basically a secret value only known to the user. And when they eventually want to spend the funds, if you want to spend the funds, you prove ownership of this nullifier by now generating a zero knowledge proof.
I like the Wally analogy. I think it's good.
Yes, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And then it helps. I can understand. I see how people are able to keep their information private, and that works. That works well. So, awesome. So I want to thank you very much for your time today. It's been a wonderful conversation. And I have one last question. It's probably the easiest one. I've bombarded you with a whole bunch of difficult stuff. How can people find out more information about you, about Elusiv, about being a client using your protocol platform? How can they do that?
Yeah, sure. So I guess our main channel is basically Twitter, probably for most Web3 projects. So it's at Elusiv Privacy, and the Elusiv comes without the E at the end. So it's Elusiv without the E, and then privacy, one word. To find me on Twitter, it's Julian_Elusiv. And yeah, you often like see us at, like, if you want to meet up in person, we often at conferences as well. Just in general, feel free to reach out. I also have like a blog post, a Medium blog, Discord. So you should be able to find us. And if you want to use Elusiv, you can go to the web app on our website, elusiv.io. And yeah, just try it out, do your first private transaction, your first private swap. It's fun. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.